Kate Bush's music has always stood apart from mainstream pop. From her 1978 debut with Wuthering Heights to later experimental albums like The Dreaming and Hounds of Love, her songs often sound like transmissions from another dimension. But behind the complex arrangements, unusual chord progressions, and unorthodox lyrics lies a recurring pattern that few have fully explored. Bush's fascination with the supernatural, the otherworldly, and the unexplained. Many have asked, was Kate Bush truly inspired by spirits? And did she, in some way, speak to ghosts? The theory isn't without precedent. Wuthering Heights, her breakout single, wasn't just based on Emily Bronte's novel. It was written from the perspective of the ghost of Catherine Earnshaw. Bush claimed the song came to her in a flash, after watching a BBC adaptation of the book and finishing the novel late at night. The next morning, she wrote the entire song in a single sitting. It was as if the voice of the character had directly entered her writing process. The lyrics speak in first person from beyond the grave. The video, choreography, and melody reinforce that idea, presenting her as a vessel for a disembodied voice. But Wuthering Heights wasn't the only time Bush's music seemed to reflect a dialogue with invisible forces. On her 1980 album Never Forever, she included a track titled The Infant Kiss, which was directly inspired by the 1961 supernatural horror film The Innocents, itself based on Henry James's ghost story The Turn of the Screw. The song blurs the boundary between the psychological and the paranormal, sung from the point of view of a woman haunted by the soul of a grown man possessing the body of a child. Bush also showed a fascination with mythology and mysticism. Night of the Swallow, from The Dreaming, includes elements of Irish folklore and refers to themes of transformation, smuggling, and rebellion, with a musical arrangement that suggests ritualistic procession more than pop music. She collaborated with musicians using traditional Celtic instruments and built her compositions around what she called mood energy, a kind of sonic presence rather than melody alone. Throughout her career, Bush has referred to music in terms that suggest a portal between worlds. She's described her songwriting process as being visited by ideas that arrive from somewhere else. In interviews, she's avoided explaining the meaning behind many of her songs, often saying that too much analysis destroys their power. She maintained a strong degree of privacy, rarely touring, and famously disappeared from the public eye after 1993, returning only in carefully controlled intervals. This added to the sense that her creative life was more about channeling than performing. Her song, Watching You Without Me, from Hounds of Love, is another example. In the track, the narrator returns home as a ghost, observing loved ones who can't see her. She tries to communicate, but the divide is permanent. The song uses reversed vocals, fragmented phrases, and a dreamlike rhythm to mirror the dislocation of death. It is not comforting, it's unsettling. In Get Out of My House, she references The Shining and uses donkey braying, layered screaming, and pounding percussion to create a sonic barrier between the narrator and some invading force. It's a musical exorcism. Even her use of production tools supported this concept. On The Dreaming, Bush was one of the first artists to fully utilize the Fairlight CMI, an early digital sampling synthesizer. She recorded animal sounds, breaking glass, whispers, and unintelligible speech to create an environment where the human and the non-human interacted in unpredictable ways. Bush's interest in ghosts extended beyond lyrics and sound. In 1985, she released the short film The Line, The Cross and the Curve, loosely based on the 1948 film The Red Shoes. The story involves a dancer who puts on a pair of cursed shoes that won't let her stop. The themes of possession, sacrifice, and haunting were again central. Though Bush never claimed to be a medium or spiritualist, the consistency of her subject matter, her descriptions of her creative process, and her refusal to interpret her work for the public created the impression that she viewed her role not as a songwriter, but as a transmitter of something intangible. Critics and fans have long speculated that Bush saw herself less as a creator and more as an interpreter of emotions, stories, and possibly spirits. To this day, her music is studied not just for its technical complexity, but for its strangeness. It doesn't follow conventional structure. It doesn't try to fit into genre categories. It exists in a space between performance and ritual. The question of whether Kate Bush spoke to ghosts is less about literal communication and more about how she tapped into themes, images, and tones that most pop artists avoid. In an industry built on repetition and familiarity, Bush's work stands as a catalog of the unknown. Whether guided by fiction, dream states, or something less definable, her inspiration remains one of the most unusual and enigmatic in modern music. The weird inspiration behind her songs may never be fully explained. But the patterns are there: ghosts, loss, possession, other voices, and other lives. And through it all, Kate Bush never broke the illusion. She gave the supernatural a sound, and the world listened.